The FTC has done what we expected, filed its suit in federal court against Amazon. Your reaction, but also thoughts on the likelihood that the FTC wins in this case?
Yeah, and first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we're starting off with FTC versus Amazon. This is a case that a lot of people have been waiting for. It's certainly been part of why Chair Lina Khan has risen to prominence and become such a leader of the Federal Trade Commission. This is a case where the FTC is alleging really that Amazon has violated the law not by being big, but by preventing other rivals from getting big enough to challenge it. It uses its vast market power to implement several strategies simultaneously designed to keep rivals from gaining the number of sellers and buyers that they need to compete to actively compete with Amazon. One of those pieces that I think we heard a bit about earlier in your program is the fee that they charge to small businesses who sell on Amazon. That fee has risen dramatically over the years and is now estimated at some 50% of every item that you purchase on Amazon goes to Amazon itself. Furthermore, those small businesses are prevented from raising their prices on other platforms, meaning that they are just losing that money. These are small businesses punched by Amazon, and that's really what this is about.
These are, though, also perhaps beneficial for consumers in some way if they're keeping prices lower. That's what we've heard Amazon articulate, in particular their lawyer coming out and saying, look, this could mean fewer products, this could mean higher prices, and ultimately Amazon claims the FTC has radically departed from consumer-focused mission. What do you think the argument to counter that is at the moment, Lee?
Right. Well, first of all, Amazon has been able to raise its price for Amazon Prime multiple times over the past several years. Usually when the price goes up, consumers take their business elsewhere. If Amazon is not losing market share, even though they are raising prices, that's indicative of monopoly power. Customers are being hurt in other ways, though, too. And we are dealing with a new type of monopolist where price isn't the only thing that matters. When you lose things like innovation, you lose things like product quality. When you lose the ecosystem of small businesses that are out there trying to innovate and create better products, that's a real cost to the consumer, too. There are costs to workers who are being injured in Amazon warehouses. I think when we start to think more broadly about the external costs of what Amazon's business model entails, it's not just about price. It's about the societal costs that ripple out from Amazon's business model.
And let's therefore tie together what we were just discussing when it comes to Google and Apple trying to vindicate the payments that it takes to keep it as its key search. But the argument goes is that, look, with Google as a pretty dominant force, but a good dominant force in terms of actually user interaction with search, but ultimately it's stifling innovation because it hasn't allowed the others, the competitors such as Bing and DuckDuckGo, to be able to access the data needed to become a better product. How much has search lost out because of that, do you think?
Yeah, it's a relevant comparison. I mean, Google is a free product. People intuitively like Google search. I think the problem is compared to what? There's no real credible alternative to Google search. They command 90% of this market. And we're learning today with Eddie Q on the stand, your last speaker spoke a little bit about what he was going to be testifying to, really the way that Google is able to degrade privacy protections and to scrape information about users of Google search. So anybody who thinks that Google is providing a truly free product is mistaken. They are gathering information from you and selling it to advertisers who they are then abusing on the other side of the market. So Google is a really apt comparison of something that appears free but really has a lot of costs. And we're learning about those details in this trial right now.
When we had the Microsoft Activision deal, there were all kinds of questions posed that had the FTC won, Lina Khan would go after many other tech companies and she would have momentum. In the end, Activision and Microsoft were able to proceed in this jurisdiction. There was a feeling that Lina Khan was picking battles that she couldn't win, and yet they're proceeding with this federal case against Amazon. I say all of that to ask you, how strong is this FTC as a regulator? How much likelihood does it have of being successful in the actions it's choosing to take?
Well, let me start with just saying that the FTC is appealing the decision in the Microsoft Activision case. That case is not dead in the water, though Microsoft Activision has prevailed in many jurisdictions. These are cases that are difficult to bring. These are antitrust laws that were crafted over a century ago to treat a different type of monopolist. They have been eroded dramatically over the 50 years to focus on things that are solely about consumer price, for instance, while completely ignoring other issues around the benefits of competition and innovation in markets and the value of small businesses and the dignity of workers. So I don't think this is as much about the FTC as it is about the law itself and the way that it's been eroded by the courts. So, these cases are not easy to bring. The FTC is going to have an uphill battle with Amazon, as it did with Microsoft Activision. I don't think that's a reason not to bring cases about undisputed monopolists in our economy.
Lee, I think what's interesting, though, is we actually have got competition in the world of search, and it's ChatGPT. Suddenly, we have seen innovation of a gargantuan scale in artificial intelligence and generative AI. So is that not some sort of argument about the fact that, no, it hasn't stifled innovation, this sort of, product that everyone really likes?
Well, I love this example, and we talk about this a lot, that AI is going to shake up Google search. It's going to shake up all these different parts of our economy. I think when you look at the analyses that are being conducted right now, you see that that's actually not the case. Microsoft had a lead with AI on its search engine and was not able to disrupt Google's market share at all. I think what you'll see with AI is that this new technology that is supposed to spring a new innovation is just being grafted onto the market structures of today. The monopolists are going to control the development of that technology. That's what the FTC, or that's what the case, the DOJ's case against Google search is right now, is about how AI gets to develop over the next quarter century. Is Google going to have a stranglehold on that development?
Of the many actions the FTC's taken, Lee, quickly, which do you think it legally has the best chance of success? Against which company?
Well, I'm really excited about the Amazon case. I mean, they've been laying the foundation for this for quite some time. They've been methodically researching this. Many cases have been brought in state courts that they are building on. I don't think the FTC would be bringing this landmark case that it filed this morning if it didn't think it had a good opportunity to win. You can look at any of the other successes that the FTC has already had, though. This is actually a remarkably effective commission. Despite a couple high-profile court losses, the FTC is doing a darn good job, and I'm excited to see this Amazon case proceed.